Ever looked at a cherished memory, holding it up to the light of your mind, and wondered if it really happened the way you remember it? That seemingly insignificant detail, the vibrant emotional coloring, the sharp dialogue, is it a perfect recording of the past or an intricate construct of your mind? This isn't a question of dishonesty. It's a fascinating and essential dive into how our brains architect our reality. This video explores the mind-bending possibility that your memories are fabricated, not lies, but meticulously constructed narratives your brain creates for coherence and survival. We'll examine what that means for your sense of self, your relationships, and your future. Prepare for a journey into the captivating and sometimes unsettling world of neuroscience and philosophy. Ready to question the very foundation of who you think you are? Our memories feel concrete, like a library of snapshots documenting our lives. We recall the taste of a childhood birthday cake, the feeling of a first love, the pride of a significant achievement. These events, imbued with powerful emotion and vivid detail, form the bedrock of our personal history. This seemingly solid foundation shapes our identity, informs our beliefs, and guides our future decisions. But what if this foundation is less like stone and more like sand, constantly shifting with the tides of our current experience? Modern neuroscience reveals a far more complex and dynamic picture than the simple storage and retrieval of past events. The brain isn't a vault where the past is locked away, pristine and unchanged. It's a living theater where the past is reenacted and reinterpreted every single day. Memory isn't a passive recording. It's an active and profoundly creative reconstructive process. Each time you recall a memory, it's not a simple replay of an old film. Instead, your brain rebuilds the event from fragments of information stored across different neural networks. This reconstruction is heavily influenced by your current state of mind, your emotions, your beliefs, and even new information you've acquired since the event. Imagine a game of telephone where a message subtly shifts with each retelling. Our memories undergo a similar transformation, with details being added, subtracted, exaggerated, or reinterpreted with each access. This is why the story of a breakup can feel more painful or more peaceful years later. You haven't changed the past, but your brain has certainly rewritten the script. To understand why our internal storyteller is so powerful yet so unreliable, we must look at the machinery itself. The neuroscientific underpinnings of memory reveal a complex and delicate network of brain regions working in concert. The hippocampus, often considered the memory center, isn't a simple storage unit like a hard drive. It acts more like a sophisticated librarian or an index system, cataloging the different elements of a memory. The sight, the sound, the emotion, the context, which are stored in various parts of the cortex. When you recall an event, the hippocampus works to retrieve and bind these scattered pieces back together into a coherent whole. This dynamic process is far from perfect and is highly susceptible to errors and biases, especially when parts of the index are damaged or the original data has degraded over time. This vulnerability is rooted in the very process that allows us to learn: synaptic plasticity. This is the ability of connections between neurons, the synapses, to strengthen or weaken over time based on how often they are used. When you form a memory, a specific pattern of synaptic connections is strengthened. However, this also means that new experiences, thoughts, and emotions can alter the strength of these connections, effectively editing the memory itself. Furthermore, neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that transmit signals across these synapses, play a crucial role. The delicate balance of chemicals like acetylcholine for focus, dopamine for salience, and norepinephrine for arousal can dramatically impact how a memory is encoded and stored. Stress, for instance, can flood the brain with cortisol, which can enhance the emotional core of a memory, the fear, while simultaneously weakening the details and context around it, leading to fragmented, emotionally charged recollections. The amygdala, the brain's emotional processing hub, acts like a highlighter, flagging memories with emotional significance. Memories strongly associated with intense experiences, particularly fear, joy, or trauma, are often more vivid and resistant to fading. This is the mechanism behind flashbulb memories, where people have incredibly detailed, though not always accurate, recollections of where they were during a major public event. The amygdala essentially tells the hippocampus, "This one is important. Save it with high priority." Understanding these neural mechanisms allows us to appreciate the inherent imperfections of the system. Memory's malleability isn't a flaw, but a feature of the brain's adaptive and creative nature. This prompts us to examine our own memories not as facts, but as artifacts of a complex biological process. Acknowledging the potentially fabricated nature of our memories doesn't have to diminish their value. It profoundly shifts our perspective. Instead of viewing memories as infallible historical records, we can begin to see them as the valuable and deeply personal narratives that shape our understanding of ourselves and the world. These stories, however imperfect or factually inaccurate, provide the essential framework for our personal identities. They are the myths we live by. The stories of triumph, of failure, of resilience, of love that give our lives meaning and direction. This reframing opens up powerful new possibilities for personal growth. We can embrace the creative power of the brain, recognizing that our memories are a potent force in shaping our present and future, regardless of their objective accuracy. Instead of chasing an elusive, true version of the past, we can focus on the significance we derive from our recollections and how they serve us today. This perspective also encourages a profound sense of empathy and understanding toward others. When conflicts arise from differing recollections of an event, a common occurrence in families, friendships, and relationships, we can move beyond the frustrating debate of who is right and who is wrong. We can recognize that each person holds a unique, subjectively true interpretation of past events, shaped by their own distinct neural and emotional landscape. This makes room for multiple perspectives to coexist, fostering dialogue instead of dispute. It helps us avoid judging others based on their version of events, understanding that their memory is their reality, just as ours is our own. Adopting such a view also promotes mindfulness and acceptance. We can learn to observe our memories as they arise without being completely consumed by them. By appreciating the fluidity of memory and the way it evolves, we can cultivate a less rigid and more adaptable understanding of ourselves. This can lead to greater self-compassion, especially when dealing with painful or embarrassing memories. We can recognize that the harsh, critical version of a past mistake is itself a reconstruction, one that can be softened and re-narrated with the wisdom of hindsight. Embracing this new perspective is a journey of self-discovery. It involves questioning our assumptions, acknowledging our cognitive limitations, and appreciating the powerful stories that shape who we are. It's a crucial step towards a more nuanced, accepting, and compassionate view of ourselves and everyone around us. The realization that our memories may be fabricated doesn't need to lead to nihilism or despair. On the contrary, it empowers us to become the conscious authors of our personal narratives. If our past is not a fixed, unchangeable record, then we have the agency to influence how it affects us now. We can consciously work to construct more accurate, helpful, and empowering narratives about our lives, focusing not on a rigid retelling of facts, but on the lessons learned, the growth experienced, and the resilience demonstrated. This isn't about self-deception. It's about choosing to build a story that fosters well-being over one that perpetuates suffering. This process involves developing metacognitive skills, the ability to think about our own thinking. We can learn to identify our own biases and common distortions, cultivating habits of mindfulness and self-reflection. When a powerful memory arises, we can learn to pause and ask critical questions. Is this memory serving me? Is there another way to interpret this event? What might I be leaving out of this story? We can actively seek diverse perspectives, cross-checking our strongest memories with external sources when possible, like photos, journals, or the accounts of others, not to prove ourselves wrong, but to build a more complete and multifaceted picture. Furthermore, we can cultivate a culture of open dialogue and collaborative truth-seeking. In our relationships, we can acknowledge the subjective nature of memory and encourage a respectful exploration of conflicting perspectives, moving from my memory versus your memory to let's build a shared understanding. This approach allows us to choose to replace harmful or inaccurate narratives. I always fail. I am unlovable, with more empowering and realistic ones that support our personal growth. Building a better narrative involves utilizing tools like journaling, therapy, and meditation to enhance self-awareness and thoughtfully consolidate our life experiences. These practices can lead to a stronger, more flexible sense of self and a richer understanding of our journey. This is not about erasing the past, but about creating a more helpful, constructive, and compassionate relationship with it. Let's embrace the evolving nature of memory, shape our narratives with intention, and create a more fulfilling future.